Hello, and welcome to Juneteenth 196, 2020 Special Edition. B.H. Brilliant Minds Project, Inc. is honored to bring to you invited guests who will tell their personal life stories from past to present. B.H. Brilliant Minds Project, Inc. understands the importance of leaving a legacy behind after we're gone. We know that it is our responsibility in keeping our stories alive, creating opportunities for the voices of our communities to be heard and seen. The Juneteenth 196 2020 Special Edition will capture the essence of why we are celebrating and honoring the backs and shoulders of our ancestors we are standing on. Their faith, their resilience, their strength, blood, sweat, and tears are the building blocks for the generation to come, blowing into the winds of creation as we create and prepare the brilliant minds of the future towards excellence. This evening, I have Patanisha Williams. How are you, Patanisha Williams?
I'm good.
All
I'm
right.
so honored to be here.
Well, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your upbringing, your family, and your passion. We know that's a full order, but we can start about your upbringing. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, and then we'll go into the family.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So my upbringing, I am a fourth generation Oakland resident. So I was raised primarily in North Oakland, but like a lot of us Oakland people, I have strong West Oakland roots. Yeah, so both of my parents, my mom was raised in Oakland and Chicago, so she's got a lot of Chicago in her. My dad's parents are from Texas, Port Arthur. And so I was raised with a lot of Southern tradition, you know, in the ways of food and cooking and culture. But I was also raised in a heavily Afrocentric environment, hence the name Patanisha. It's Swahili. And my aunt Anne, who is like my grandma, she gave everyone Swahili names in the 70s. So if you were not born with the name, you were given a name in ceremony. And I'm named after my great-grandmother. So, yeah, growing up in my upbringing was kind of typically Oakland in the sense that, you know, it was some struggle there. It was struggle going on with my parents. You know, my mom her family was heavily activist, but they also got caught up in you know, the drug era. Yeah. And although my mother didn't end up, you know, on drugs, my dad did, and then he got it together when I was in middle school and became a youth counselor. Wow. With Fred Finch, and then he was at juvenile hall for about 25 years, along with a lot of my male relatives. That was kind of their thing. Wow. So I want to show you something.
Sure.
I know I'm jumping into family, but
no,
I think
it's okay.
It's important. So, you know, I'm an artist, I'm a photographer. Right. And this is one of my pieces that I made. This is my great grandmother. And I made it from an image that used to scare me. Right. It's her, my grandmother, my grandmother's sisters and grandfather. And this is my grandmother, great grandmother, her husband, and the Bible. And she's pointing up, and it was just really
that is deep.
Yeah, they were a gospel group, and she was heavily strict and religious, from Louisiana. They were born in Louisiana, but came here as like toddlers and raised in West Oakland. A couple of them have recently passed, you know that. But this piece is about the piece that I made with this picture, this image, with Christianity because I was Buddhist for about 14 years. Came back to Christianity, but really, I found my peace with God in all religions. But I tend to culturally, I'm Christian. So this piece is about that, and it's got a scripture from Song of Solomon that says, I would kiss you and no one would despise me. I would lead you and bring you to my mother's house, she who has taught me.
Oh my God, that is deep and it is beautiful. Oh my God, you done took my breath away. Oh Lordy. So with that upbringing and you being able to reflect and continuously being able to look back on the picture, what inspired you? That was a part of what's your passion? The next question that goes right into it. What is your passions? What kind of things that you love to do?
So I love art in all forms. My earliest memory of making art. So when I say I'm an artist, most people are, oh, do you paint? You know, they want to see a painting. No, I don't paint. I've never painted a painting. I've never gone to school for art. I went to school for art gallery management. And I completed a certificate program at Laney under Ben Hazard, who recently passed.
Ben.
Yes, he was amazing. But I took the class because I wanted to get my photography into a gallery. So I thought it would be good to know the business. But what it did was teach me that I do love the business of art. And but photography, that's what my passion was. So ever since I was little, I like getting people together and making art, or whatever we call art, crafting, just making stuff. So I still do that under my Love Club. It's a cross-generational social enterprise of creative professionals, and we get together to produce art or photography or film, but it's really about bringing the different generations together again and passing down skills and tools. And that is all my passion. And
so
now,
go ahead.
Well, now I'm moving into, because of a recent fellowship that I did with Urban Strategies, capturing stories of those affected by violence, it made me want to push my photography and art in a more meaningful way. So I'm moving into film and production, and I'm working on a project now with the city of Oakland and the new Department of Violence Prevention to tell our stories from the hood, like to repair this relationship with the city, because that's where we need to start. So these are my passions, and I'm very, very blessed and fortunate to be able to sustain myself and work and do them. But it's been a lot of paying dues, and I am so grateful to all of my business owner friends like you who have believed in me from before I even started the club, who hired me to do art and curate things. So it's been a blessing. It's been a journey, but you already know, I guess people who are hearing this will know that it's not even about us. We listen to spirit, ancestors, angels, whatever you call it. And that's what makes us happy. I think that's our real passion, is following spirit. And with that comes the magical connections and synchronicity and, and it just makes it, it makes it good.
Wow. Well, I just want to tell you that you are a beautiful Black queen, and you are looking fabulous there, girl. So with you're welcome, honey. As being a Black woman, what do you love about being a Black woman?
It's so much.
Yes, juicy stuff.
You know, I think that term, that the new term, the Black girl magic, really captures the essence of something that we don't have a name for, but what it looks like is the way we take nothing and turn it into something. You know, the way that our great grandmothers took the
Yes,
scraps and made soul food, the way
yes,
that they nurtured, you know, master's kids and us, somehow we got here, you know.
yes.
And I think I was explaining to a friend the other day, Black girl magic is just the essence of faith, you know, and we make things happen. And it is our faith, you know, no matter what religion you or tool you use, our faith makes things happen. And it's something in the way that Black women do it. Like, we're just, the world may see, you know, big mouths and what we want to call ratchet, but even beneath that, like, we are just nurturers. We are so loving. We really are the mother of civilization. You can tell. And that's what we know with each other. And that's the magic that, you know, sisters like you and I have with each other, and we're able to have, you know, with women who aren't Black, but it's a little, it's a spice added.
Yes.
It's a magical ingredient in our melanin.
Yes. Well, you know, with that, being a Black woman, there are so many things that we carry. So what are you doing for self-care? You know, what do you do for self-care?
Ooh, that's something, honestly, that I have got to intentionally get back on. But one lesson I've learned, I definitely believe in therapy. I'm not in therapy now, but that's, you know, that I'm looking for one.
Yes.
But I've learned tools from previous therapy that I continue to this day. One is boundaries. I keep
Okay.
healthy boundaries. Is, you know, people think because I'm really outgoing and I do a lot and I love a lot that I have, like, you know, my phone ringing and people at my door all the time. No, not anymore.
Right.
Maybe, you know, in my 20s and early 30s, I believe in boundaries. I believe you can do more for people and love people better when you are loving to yourself and your space, and very clear about, you know, not letting people in to rock that. And especially when you're connected to a big family and community like I am, it's tough because, you know, I'm that go-to person for a lot of people in my family. But that's my number one self-care, is keeping my relationships healthy. Um, Definitely meditation daily. Yeah, I definitely believe in getting outside and vitamin D, which has been hard with the current situation. But it's, you know, just connecting to some type of nature, I do love.
Right. Well, you know, this question for sisterhood, when you hear sisterhood, what does that mean to you?
Sisterhood, the connection to women that, so I, like I said, I grew up in West Oakland.
Yes.
And when I wanted to start a program for young girls, I wanted to go back to a neighborhood where I experienced some not so good things.
Yeah, yeah.
And on that journey, it turned out on the same block that my grandmother lived, there was a women's recovery home. And there was a founder, a woman, Miss Johnny, may she rest in peace. She became a mentor of mine, especially when it comes to nonprofit work and faith-based, and, you know, not depending on, you know, grants all the time. She just really was about spirit.
Right.
And what made her successful was, one, women came in with different addictions and they became clean, and they returned because they felt the sisterhood.
Yeah.
I never started the girls program, but I went on to do different things and still continue to this day, about 14 years later. But what I learned there was the power of sisterhood. I have sisters. I have 10 siblings. So,
Right.
and we're all close. There's no, major drama with any of them. So I definitely already knew about sisterhood, and my grandmother, I showed you them
Yes.
rock together. But there was something about Serenity House and something about sisters who are humbled when life has humbled them. And by determination of their own, they decided to get themselves together. Those have become my sisters. So when I think of sisterhood, I think of those women that you choose to be your rock and support system.
That's right. Well, with that being said, the next question is, why did you choose your profession that you're in, or you was in, or did it choose you?
That's a good one. That's a good one. So I'm a photographer, and I also do nonprofit work on the administrative end, like program management. And it chose me because at the end of the day, it feels good to get paid to do stuff that you do for free anyway, helping people. It also comes with its ties that don't feel good at times, because you are part of an organization versus, doing things how you may normally operate. So what I decided to do after being in that situation a lot was put an umbrella over my photography and my community give back, and the production things I wanted to go into. And I named it after myself and my son, Patanisha Love Club. And even though a lot of people told me, oh, you shouldn't use that name, I felt like we need to hear the word love more often, and it shouldn't be just a romantic,
Exactly.
sense. So, and it is what I see us all doing, all my creative friends. We're giving love, we're showing love. And so it chose me, but I love it. I realized finally, after 25 years of shooting, that I love photography. I'm not going to not do it, so I might as well get paid for it.
That's true.
That finally clicked in. I definitely believed it was a tool, but so right now that's I'm focused on making my business a success, and it's not just for me, but it's to prove, like, it's part of my ministry. Like, we are worthy of being more than financially secure of our God-given talents and the work that we do. Like, we are worthy. And so I really believe that. And if I'm teaching that and saying that to young people, I have to be that. So that's where I am right now, even though you didn't ask that question.
No. That was all of what it was supposed to be about. It was a question and a question. So you gave all of what it was supposed to be said. And with the Pati Ali Love Club, what made you, in a sense, create that particular movement, the mission, the ministry? What made you like,
move on it?
I have to do this?
Two things. The first thing that happened was my son was telling me, he was critiquing the way that I do youth programming, or just the way nonprofits in general. And he was saying, only reason I went to those things is you were my mom, but I didn't really relate to them. You guys should have did it this way. So I'm like, well, why don't you tell me how you would
Exactly.
And so he produced a program, or he wrote up this program that was event based on how he would mentor boys. And I said, oh, that's brilliant. And I was so proud of him. And so I said, why don't I do something to help make those events happen? What could I do? And it just kind of fit together. Since at the time I get paid, part of my one of my skills is I support nonprofits and with their administrative things. There's elders who do great things, but they don't understand a lot of stuff. So what I realized was I've done this for a lot of people, and I didn't really do it for myself. Like, I had a logo, never used it, and so that gave me a great reason to define what I did.
Yes.
And to support my son, and and to kind of get it together. And that was about 4 or 5 years ago, about 4 years ago. And then
Yeah,
a couple years ago, see, people don't realize when they be complaining about people at work or life, and they don't realize that, like, Spirit's getting you ready for something good.
absolutely.
You remember when I was at an agency that I did really good work for, and not just myself. I had 4 colleagues who just did amazing things, and we were in a toxic work environment. We worked for a person who literally, like, emotionally abused us.
Wow.
And we were like, we loved what we did, that we took it. We were like, oh, we know what her, we took it until we couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
And when I was taking care of my grandmother and she passed, it was so traumatized that I couldn't even fathom, like, stepping into that environment again. So what I did was what made sense. And that was the time when I sought therapy, and it was wonderful. And it just became clear to me. And that's all the therapist really said. Why would you advise somebody? And I was like, oh, well, I don't deserve that treatment. So why don't I treat myself better? And then I realized, I said, wait, I've got a whole business that I created for my son that's just sitting here, that I maybe do a couple events, but I don't do anything with. Why don't I do all that I was doing with this agency for myself? And it has been going really well.
Wow. And that's what's beautiful about creation, is that when we're growing up and as we mature and as we move through our different phases of our lives, stuff that we've been put on the back burner, and it comes all at the right time. It's all purposeful at the right time. So we did put a little bit of that over there, did a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then once you get clear, you have everything you need already together. And that's the beauty about how God and the ancestors put things in fruition for you. It's like, that's what it means, that great is he that's in me than he that's in the world. Everything you need is already in there. He's in there. They're in there. They're already directing you. We just got to listen. Sometimes it takes us having to go through situations and then push us into what you're into now.
Have to, because we'll be comfortable with whatever it is, even if it doesn't feel good. We've gotten used to it,
That toxic environment pushed you into your real purpose of why you were uniquely made for such a time as this.
And something just clicked for me, which is wonderful, while you were talking, and that is, you never know why you go through certain things. And one thing I did not like growing up, I went to like 13, 14 different schools in Oakland. My parents moved all the time.
Right.
And I, it was embarrassing. I had all these negative feelings about that. And just as you were talking and you were saying, you never know why this, I said, that is why I have low tolerance and patience for situations that I don't like. It's easy for me to leave them.
That's
It's,
right.
when most people, it doesn't seem to be an option because
Right.
you just stay, kind
Right.
of, you just get through it. And for me, I've always been about that. I have never been fired, but
Mhm.
I'll leave a job like
Right. Right.
you're not
This ain't
treating me
working
right.
right now.
Yeah. And I realized the older I gotten, I'm very clear about, even though I may be good at some things, what I don't like doing, and
Yeah.
after a while, it's going to be a problem. So
Right.
I really appreciate just the opportunities that social entrepreneurship are bringing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other piece too was when you were talking, and this is what I love about when we have conversations. And that's why it was so important for me to make sure, not me, the answer I just gave us, to make sure we do this Juneteenth 196, is that this is the beauty about telling our story. When we tell our stories to ourselves, to others, and to the world, there's something that you will say that will click for somebody else. It's like, oh, I didn't look at it that way. I didn't take it in that perspective. Oh. And there are so many things that will come about. And that's what I love about communication. What brought to my mind when you were talking about moving around, what came to me is that then, because you were in different environments, that's why people love you so in different nationalities, because you were always moving around in different spaces that you were able, even though it wasn't at the time you didn't like it, but then you still had
Adapt,
you had
sink or swim.
connection with different races and
Yeah.
cultures. Go ahead.
No, yeah, absolutely. I never thought about that, but that is very true. When I think about just sixth through ninth grade for me,
Mm-hmm.
extremely different, like, school cultures. It
Right.
was, I mean, elementary too, but those are really your formative years.
Yes.
And sixth grade, I was, across the street from my grandmother's, nice, warm, comfortable. My
Yeah.
cousin was the secretary, and it was just cool. It was Santa Fe Elementary. And then seventh grade, I went to Carter.
Right.
And man, I mean, it was fights every day, and
Wow.
it was a tough school. And
Mhm.
I didn't have problems because my cousins were problems for everybody else, but it just was, you were right. I had to learn how to get along with everybody.
Right.
And then eighth grade, my parents moved to East Oakland and sent me to McChesney. And I was like, I I was like, there's white people here and Asian. And I tell you, by the time I graduated ninth grade, I won like the speech contest
Wow.
for our graduation. And I did it on how my crew learned what the world hadn't learned, and that was how to get along. Because my
Wow.
girls were
Now look at that.
Mexican, Cambodian, like, we were crewed up in every kind of nationality. And I noticed that then. But I didn't think about, yeah, because then I went back to tech, and then I went to Skyline. Then I had to go to night school at Piedmont High. Like, I was in a lot of environments. I didn't think about
Wow.
that, Miss B. You right.
Yes. And there ain't nobody but the ancestors talking, girl. But the other piece too is that you come from a family of rich heritage of activists and singers and poets. And tell me a little bit about, I know, okay, Maya Angelou, to make that connection, and then your aunt that did the braiding of the hair, she braided Stevie. Tell me about that.
So
Stevie Wonder's
those
hair.
are,
And
my Auntie Anne
yes.
is my grandmother's baby sister.
Okay.
And Auntie Anne is magical. You talk about Black girl magic. Like, have always been just, fascinated by her. I wanted to be her when I grew up. I wish I had some pictures I've got pictures of me and her my whole life, just like,
Wow.
but she was that woman who was just magical. So she helped to raise my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with her 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Then I come along, and my visions of her when I was little were just at her house, just everything would happen. She was a hair braider.
Right.
So people like Sylvester would be in the living room getting their hair braided. She
Now,
started
who's
braiding.
Sylvester? Tell the folks who.
Sylvester, it was the singer with 2 Tons of
Okay.
Fun, remember?
Yes.
He was a disco guy.
Okay.
But so she got into celebrities. One of her girlfriends, who used to live right around the corner from where I am now, she was a photographer. As a matter of fact, that's when
Wow.
the first Black female photographer was my Auntie Ann's friend. I used to go through her album covers, and she actually did some of the album covers. For Earth, Wind, and Fire, Philip Bailey was her brother.
Mm-hmm.
So Auntie Anne used to braid Philip Bailey's hair, Stevie Wonder. Then she taught her mother-in-law how to braid, and her sister-in-law. And her sister-in-law, so let me back up a minute. So Auntie Anne married Maya Angelou's nephew.
Mm-hmm.
So in the book, I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings, she talks about her brother Bailey, Maya Ann Bailey. So Auntie Anne's father-in-law was Bailey, Uncle Bailey. So we pen note in that, because Grandma Omi was her mother-in-law, and that's who marked me in a lot of ways. Right. But so Auntie Anne taught Auntie Malakia how to braid, and Auntie Malakia moved to LA, and she went on to do Stevie Wonder's hair for like the album covers, and she did a lot. So she is Maya Angelou's direct niece. And she also became her archivist, and moved to North Carolina, where she still lives now with her. She helped to start the women's clinic at Glide Memorial. Auntie Malakia is amazing, just like Auntie Anne. And then there's Aunt Georgia, Auntie Anne's big sister. She was the first brown-skinned international model who started at 35 with 5 kids.
Wow.
And then there's my grandmother too. You know, she was just a sweetheart, too much of a sweetheart. I get mad when I think about it. Like, she could have been great, but she was great in the sense of these accolades like the others, but she was so giving all the time. Like, she just worked to serve others, but I got a lot of her in me. So I come from, yes, amazing women, but my grandmother also has a very strong lineage. Her uncle was Jake Simmons Jr., who was the first African-American oil tycoon.
Wow.
Her great grandfather was Cal Tom, who's a famous freeman who's made a lot of treaties with the Muscogee Nation. Her aunt married Lead Belly. And so my cousin runs that foundation now, Lead Belly Foundation. So yeah, I've got cousins in production. I have a lot of incredible people, and a lot more incredible people who don't get any credit for what they do, because they just, you know, humbly raising kids and being there to support elders, and, you know. And then I got, you know, the ones that get on your nerves, because I got all kinds of family. Yeah.
That's good. Now, one of your baby sisters, she's locally, right? They all local. But one is, now the one we used to work together with at
Marlene.
Marlene. Where's Marlene and what she's doing?
So Marlene is, so her background, her passion is broadcast.
Okay.
She was like one of the original youth radio.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so I used to hear her on NPR, you know, it was amazing. So she's always, not always, she's recently started getting back into that and starting a podcast.
Oh, excellent.
But yeah, but professionally, she's taken the corporate corporate route, and is doing something relative to, I want to say, developers are real estate.
Okay.
Something not very exciting, but a means to, something she wants to do.
We understand.
Yeah, that's where actually I think most of my sisters are.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where they all are. Like they're all talented and sweethearts, and I feel like on the edge of stepping into, who they really are.
Right.
I have one that is in Napa State Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, she has schizophrenia, but even her, like she's got it. I'm hoping it's time for her to step it up too.
Right. Now, how old is she?
She is 41.
Okay.
Yeah, she's been there 5 years. We just had that conversation the other day, like, wow. So, yeah, and she was put there for her own safety, just
Yeah.
because with schizophrenia, she would easily be one of these people on the street. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Well,
I mean,
that's our families. Our families are made up of that. And my
mhm.
nephew, I know this is your interview, but my nephew is experiencing schizophrenia too. He has, yeah. And what ended up happening with him, he had to us, a nervous breakdown.
Mhm.
My baby sister passed away with pancreas cancer at 34. And first it was just them two, So, and then he lost my dad. Then he lost our grandmother. So it's
Oh
just like,
yeah,
and he
oh
is
yeah,
26, I think.
yes,
26 years old. So that's the experiencing of made up of all kinds of families, but especially in the African American community.
yeah.
This is what we stand on. This is what we've been a part of, and how do we move, and what we've been doing to survive these many of years. And we're still standing now.
Yeah.
So with that, the violence prevention department that you're a part of and telling the story, tell us how that came about, and what was your role, and what were you doing, and
So,
process.
oh yes. Now, see, that is such happenstance, right? I
Mm,
mean, but everything happens for a reason.
yes.
So I was asked to sit in for someone on maternity leave.
Mm,
Um, and my specific role would just be to support the community healing department of Oakland Unite, which was to become the Department of Violence Prevention, um, and support them in an administrative fashion. So numbers and contracts but one of the fun aspects while I was doing that was hosting a weekly call
mm.
with people, with 5 individuals who represented 5 different agencies
Oh.
that have community healing grants with the
Mm,
department.
mm.
Boss, all of them.
Yes.
Boss, Our Joy, UPM, Roots. Why is my brain?
It's
Um,
okay.
Roots. There's one more though. Courage. And they're in
Okay.
Fruitvale. They're smaller, but just wonderful things that they do. And when shelter in place hit, they were like, "How can we do a healing event?" And the issue was, well, we can't do any kind of events.
Right.
Um, and one of them had an idea. Melvin from Boss says, I wish we could,
Is
well,
that
can't we?
our Melvin?
Yeah, yeah. Cohen,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Just great people on this line, I'm telling you. He says, why don't we do some kind of broadcast? And in his head, it was kind of funny, but I love his intent. He's like, can't we do something like a telethon, like use K-Top and have people call? I said, we're going to heal them on. I said, culturally, that's not going to work. I said, people don't want to be healed in public. But I love his
Yeah.
intent. And so
Right.
what I took from it, you know, the creative in me said,
Yeah.
I said, we need to make a production. That's what you guys need. You guys are doing dope stuff. Like, we need to tell the story.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that I had my grant from the department that I got before I even got that gig, that it was to do art and stories. Well, I
Right.
couldn't do the event. So I'm like, you know what? I can use my grant money to make this production. And then that helps me to keep the voice mine.
Absolutely.
And since that time, what happened was the chief of the department heard about this production and called forth a meeting, and I was nervous. And it's when I tell you, one of the first things out of his mouth, he's talking about ancestors. I said, okay,
That's the
we are here.
call.
So yeah, he was basically like, I didn't know why I ended up back in Oakland. I never go back. You know, I've traveled this world doing this work, but something's pulled me here, and now I know. And he believes in media as an art form of change, and he has fully supported me using this as an olive branch to the hood specifically. Like, this is your voice. What do you expect, or what are you doing? Let's lift it up. So to me, it just dawned on me recently that I was like, I think this is a dream come true, because I always wanted,
It is
and I
a dream
always
come
wanted
true.
my own Sesame Street.
Oh,
That's me.
yes.
Just, maybe not so much the puppets, but I just always love like the magic of the hood. We got our own characters. Like, we are very entertaining. We make up songs about everything. Like, there's that's just how Oakland is to me. So to be able, with this tiny budget, so it's not like I could make a magical, I have to be collaborative. How can I get pieces that are already look good and put them together to tell this story? And it's going to be called Oakland Love Stories.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. So, now this leads into my last question for you. And it is, what would you like to create, share, or give to the world for your legacy?
I love that.
The world is yours.
My legacy, I would like, and I feel like I have already, like, if I left today, I know that there would be like young people and elders who would say, how endeared we are to each other. Like, I know that's a gift. The fact that I love the different generations. And that pen that I said in Grandma Omi's story, she mailed me the year before she passed a short story she wrote in 1972, 2 weeks after I was born. It's handwritten. She was a student at Laney, and it says Halloween night or Halloween baby, but basically in it she describes babysitting me. And she said in this, now Grandma Omi always talked to me about African American, and she used to use that term before, like in the 70s, which was weird because we said Black and Negro, right? But she was always into African American psychics. And she taught me how to do things like astral travel. Like, she was like a vegan, grew everything, a healer. Like, Grandma Omi was amazing. But in that short story, she said how two things that just made my jaw drop. One, she described the rainbow, like how she said I think she was looking in my eyes and she could see the rainbow. I was looking out the window. And then she said she took me upstairs to see the elder who turned like 60 something the same week as me, as I was born. And she describes me holding his finger And she said the generations melted. And I received that the same week I was doing like creating a Pata Ali Love Club. And I was like, you know what? It is definitely like I've always been cross-generational. And that's something she saw.
Yes.
You know, and I don't know if she marked me or what, but I know that my legacy is that I serve elders, you know, that part, and I love the babies, but I want it to be, I'm not done yet, that I want it to be to show the importance of that I prove that we can heal and be prosperous. We do through our creativity. I want that to be my legacy, and I hope that I leave my own story as I capture all these other stories. So I'm most proud that, you know, my great uncle passed away recently, the one on this picture, but guess what? I got boxes of his VHS tapes from him capturing like anything about Black people around the world he recorded.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I'll talk to you about that because I wanted to start showing like weekly, like just putting them online for people to see. And I think that is my legacy, is just still unfolding, like all the people that have passed, Miss Johnny, you know, all the elders I'm close to who will continue to pass, that they know their legacies like still live through me. And, you know, I'm talking to younger folks, and I really hope this production thing becomes prosperous.
Yes.
Because that's where I am now. I'm like high finance time to do big things that our community needs. I'm with Miss Johnny. I don't want to be asking the grant for everything. I don't want permission.
That's right. And you know, that's amazing that you say that, because how and why I'm into doing what I do, because our family had a family business in San Francisco for over 40 years, Wendy's Cheesecake Bakery. And that's the shoulders I'm standing on, is our dad and our mom. Dad has passed, but mom is still alive. However, our father taught us that we, as first of all, love our culture, love who we are, and be real, and take care of your people. So that I have no choice, and that's why doing the Juneteenth, it came so easy for me. It came in my lap for me to do. Me creating it is because in San Francisco, all we did, it was always about community.
Natural
and my
extension.
father would say, any person that walked through those bakery doors are to be respected. If they had 10 cents to $1 million, and we had to treat everybody the same. There was no way we could not like treat no. Oh, he would. Oh no.
He sound like he related to my nanny.
Yep, they was related.
Where he from? Shreveport.
He's from Georgia and Florida. Yeah, back there. Yeah. So, and then, you know, he started. Well, I won't go into my spiel with your interview, but however, that legacy of keeping our stories alive and who we are as a race and as a people, it is a coming upon us. And I want to thank you for doing that, even considering to making sure that the generations to come. And you know what? That right there, when you said that, Grandma said that when you touch the elder, that the generations melted together, that is so true with you, because that is definitely your call about melting the generations together, the young and our season.
Yeah,
you know,
I strongly believe that is the answer to community healing. You know, it based on what's most natural and what's worked for us. It was, you know, the ethics instilled by Big Mama, whether you agree with the Jesus she worshipped or not. There were ethics that came along with that, a responsibility, a stability, and there was wisdom. And you know, there was some OG that would talk to the youngsters. So there were things that we had that we are seeing far and few in between.
Yes.
So I love being intentional about it. But I just, let me give one big, huge praise to young people right now.
Yeah.
And this is what I love telling elders, because it shocks them because they're so disconnected. I'm like, oh, no. The young generation, they're so much better than we were. We were, I think, angry that y'all, you know, we looking at the next generation like y'all was messing up. You know, y'all succumbed. We were selling the dope, but y'all was doing it. You know, you didn't protect us. That's why we had to sell it. You know, it's certain. There's this disconnect. But what I noticed with these like 20-year-olds, even, they've gone back to the roots, to the music. They've gone back to gardening. They have gone back to, and they know, you know, that there's something magic there. They've gone with the sci-fi, and they're really about reconnecting to sources of power. And I'm glad to see that my age is catching up. You know, it's the younger people who are like, we're going to be natural, you know. And so I have a lot of hope. But I know that that's the answer, is us reconnecting. But it's going to look different. It used to be elders just telling the young people, you know, it's a two-way street now. These babies have, you know, amazing things to teach us. So it's tough, though, because they get on my nerves, too, especially these.
But you the auntie, so
thank goodness.
You holding that role very, very well. And you know, the Pata Ali Love Club is definitely keeping that legacy alive and bringing those generations together. And I commend you on all of the work and everything you have done and are doing, because you were born and we were born for such a time as this, and doing it in our own unique way, because allowing people to understand that everybody is unique, special, and different. And God didn't say for everybody to be the same.
Right.
Because what you bring to the world, I need. And what I bring to the world, you need. And if everybody fall in line with what their gifts, what their purpose is, that's how we bring the healing to the world. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing. If everybody find your lane.
Find your lane.
And we can all ride together, right?
That's right. Well, you know what? With that, I just want to say, and I'm grateful and thankful to be able to be a part of B.H. Brilliant Minds, finding the lane to do the work that we're doing in our actual community. And on that note, I want to say B.H. Brilliant Minds Project, Inc. will continue to invite us all to join in celebrating Juneteenth 196, a special 2020 edition. And as I said earlier before, is that if you were to count up from June the 19th to the end of December, that's 196 days. That was what the ancestors gave to me to start the virtual with Juneteenth 96 and 196. And then what our theme is we are the breath of our ancestors. We would never break, because we are history shakers and makers. And this is also to honor and acknowledge that Black life, Black culture, Black minds, Black breath, and Black lives matter. And we are saying it loud because we are Black and proud. We also want to give, yes, a special thank you to our sponsor, and that is the Winroll Fund of the Common Council Foundation. We're so grateful and thankful to them to allow us to be able to do our Juneteenth 196, where they would find personal interviews, they would find entertainment on this of us celebrating and leaving this legacy on our website. They can find these upcoming interviews and entertainment at www.B-HBrilliantMinds.org, B-HBrilliantMinds.org. And I just want to let everybody know that we're so grateful and thankful to have had this opportunity to speak with you, Patanisha. You are our jewel in our community, and around the world, we are doing our part. And go ahead, sis.
No, I'm just saying thank you for doing
and
this.
That's the generation. that we see that we're standing on, and that's passing down this wisdom and this knowledge, you know, and we're reaching back like Sankofa. And we're gonna never forget. We have to do this. We don't have a choice. We were born out, continue to say for such a time as this, and we're doing our part. And to all of the ones that's doing their part, we say kudos to you. Keep it up. Allow the spirit and the ancestors to continue to speak through us, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna continue to do it.